Okay, we are live.
Hey everybody, it's Greg Harrelson here with Century 21 the Harrelson Group. As you probably recognize, I'm also here with my co-pilot and partner Abe Safa, also with Century 21 the Harrelson Group, and we just want to talk to you about the Myrtle Beach real estate market. And the conversation that Abe and I are having, kind of behind the scenes, is, hey, is the Myrtle Beach real estate market on the rebound? We're seeing some things out there that are worthy of talking about, and I think we'll kind of share that information with you, give you some facts as to where the market is, and just kind of have a little dialogue about where the market may be heading without making predictions, of course. Abe, welcome again, and thank you for joining me on Myrtle Beach Real Estate TV. So, what are you seeing in the market right now?
Yes, I mean, we've had a couple of months of data to look at now.
Yes.
Everything that I see locally and nationally seems to point to the worst is behind us, right? So
Hmm.
the worst, obviously when interest rates doubled back in last June, things all of a sudden just went to a grinding halt, excuse me, and then sales just plummeted all the way through the third quarter of last year, all the way until almost the end of the year. Then around late December, early January, things seem like, when you look in hindsight, now that we're into May 16th or so, it looks like that was the bottom. The bottom was right around the end of the year, November, December, and everything nationally seems to be pointing upwards at this point. So that's kind of like what I'm looking at. I'm looking, okay, well, how many properties are pending relative to what they were? If you look at single family homes right now, as of this morning, there was 926 homes under contract when it comes to resale single family homes. That's a 42% pending rate. That's the highest number we've had since September. So that's a good sign. Now, by no means are we as hot as we were during the peak after COVID, right? But it seemed like the recession, the housing recession that we got into, seemed to be, at least looks like we're out of it, or working our way out of it at this point.
Yeah, in rebound, kind of, I think a lot of people will, when they hear the word rebound, and in order to rebound, did it ever get bad and now it's getting better? Like, what does that word mean, rebound? Because I think, if we look at prices of property and days on the market, I don't think that we've had a hard time selling a piece of property in the last couple of years. So when you say rebound, and when we talk about that, I just want to be clear in our communication. What is an actual rebound?
Yeah,
We haven't, because we're not rebounding from a crash,
right.
right? Surely not. So what are we rebounding from in your mind?
No, there was absolutely no crash at all. There
Yeah.
was a little bit of a time where we felt like homes and condos might be depreciating.
Mm.
Right, there
Yeah.
was less properties selling. We were, I'm sure you remember, the third and fourth quarter of last year, the number of closed sales were averaging negative 40%, 30% every single month. So that took us to a bottom again towards the end of last year, and the rebound is like we're coming off of that bottom. So now when we start looking year over year numbers, we're not going to see negative 40% less closed sales. We're not going to see 30% negative when it comes to pendings. So it seems like the worst is behind us, and we're at least we're trending back to a normal type of market. Now, it's not, as long as interest rates are still going to be close to 7%, like 6.75, the market's not going to catch fire like it did before, right? But it's kind of it's stabilized. It's more of a neutral market right now. Prices don't seem to be going down. Is basically what the rebound is. We're not seeing depreciation.
Right, right, yeah. So there might have been a little bit of threat that depreciation was possible. The reality is we just never really saw it. I mean, did we ever see a few percentage points? I mean, yeah, I mean, there was a little something there, right? And then, because I think that's what triggered, like, hey, we need to watch this.
Right.
But then what we've seen is a little bit of a reversal, and I think that's what we're saying is the rebound. Is it started trending ever so slightly and subtly, but downward, but then it kind of flattened out and maybe even reversed a little bit. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's accurate. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So when it comes to single family homes, I mean, it's looking pretty strong, 42% pending. To put it in perspective, pre-COVID, that number would have been about 28%, 30%. And it's what's been the normal market for so many years, somewhere in that range. Right after COVID, when things really got hot, that number was up in the high 60s, I believe, even 70% when things were going nuts. So 42% is pretty good still, really good.
Yeah.
Looking at condos, 898 are pending right now. That's a 42% as well. The low point for condos was back in January, where it got as low as 617 pendings. So that seems to be climbing out as well. But you just kind of look at everything. It looks like we're heading in the right direction, is what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes we have to be careful what we wish for, because like if we see pendings go up into the 60% range again, then that means it's an extreme out of balance seller's market. And then that's when the feds have to come in and actually cool it down. So like, even though it's fun to go up to these like these piping hot markets, then all of a sudden we have to counterbalance that and actually manipulate the economy or market to cool it down. And like if we stayed kind of where we are right now, this is pretty solid. The buyers are still not happy because it's still a pretty good seller's market. The real estate agents are not happy. I can tell you right now. And one day I want to educate the public on why does a real estate agent say the market's terrible and a seller can say the market's actually great. Sellers judge the market based on prices. Real estate agents judge the market based on number of transactions. And the reality is that the seller doesn't care how many transactions there are. That just means how many commission checks a real estate agent is making. So commission checks made it doesn't matter to the seller. So if the agents are making less commission checks because there's less sales, that doesn't influence the seller. What influences the sellers, are prices going up or are they going down? So right now prices have went up, maybe they're stabilized, let's call it, but number of sales are lower. So the average agent is making less money, but the consumer doesn't care about that. They don't know about that as long as the prices remain where they are. So that's kind of like sometimes when you hear agents talk about the market's terrible, they're really talking about their market based on their earnings. They're really not talking about whether or not we're able to get a seller a higher price or not. So this is just a little bit of insider information, I guess, of the difference between how agents sometimes think about the market versus the consumer. What we're always presenting to you is the consumer's perspective, how we should be thinking about it as a consumer, not as a real estate agent. We have to make our own adjustments depending on what we want to accomplish in real estate. But this is information for the sellers. I just thought I would add that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Greg. Yeah, so any agents that's saying it's a terrible market, they're really saying that their business is terrible right now, not the actual market. The market's
That's
fine.
right. That's exactly right. Has nothing to do with the consumer.
As far as the Federal Reserve, Greg, you mentioned the Federal Reserve Chairman. They're looking at inflation numbers and they're looking at unemployment numbers, and both things are heading in the right direction. Well, kind of based on what they're looking for, right? Inflation's going down, unemployment's going up, which I'm not a big fan of unemployment going up, but that's kind of like what they're looking for to determine how much pressure to keep putting on rates. So it looks like hopefully that he'll be easing off on the Fed Reserve, the Fed fund rate. I do think that interest rates have peaked as well. I also think those are going in the right direction. They're not going straight down. I thought they'd go down much quicker than what they've been doing, but they don't. They just kind of, at least they're not hitting 7, right? They're kind of still fluctuating between 6.5 and 6.75. Which, like you said, buyers are not happy right now. But I'll tell you what, buyers are still out there.
Yeah.
If that rate got down in the 5% range, I really think that things could get hot again. So.
Yeah. And we're not having a problem selling the listings. So even though, again, there are fewer buyers and there are fewer sellers. That's just a fact. Right. Okay. So because those two numbers have moved together, demand went down and supply went down, then from the perspective of the seller, it's a moot point. You're still selling it fast for a really good price. So that's a moot point. So when we say the buyers are there, the buyers are there. Now, if the inventory doubled,
right,
and the demand stayed where it is, now that might be problematic. But we see I don't like to guarantee stuff that I don't control, but I can practically guarantee we are not going to see any inventory doubling anytime soon. I don't even know where it would come from. The builders can't build it that fast. So I guess in summary, on a scale of 1 to 10, and not trying to catch you off guard, I'll give you my answer first. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I believe when it comes to a strong or healthy real estate market, I'd say we're kind of like a 7, maybe an 8. Meaning if I put a property, it's clear on what the property's worth. I can evaluate it. I can make a suggestion to a seller. We can put the property on the market. We can get a really good price and we can sell it in less than probably 90 days, definitely less than 120 days, but usually less than 90 days. I think that's a pretty dang good market. So I give it maybe around a 7 to 8, maybe even closer to an 8. Mm-hmm. Full disclosure, in the hottest hot of the market, when things were selling for $40,000 over full price, I would have given it actually less than an 8 because I knew that wasn't, I felt that wasn't sustainable. But I think where we are now is a sustainable level. Something could happen in the economy and it could change tomorrow, but I give it a 7 or 8, more closer to an 8 when it comes to a healthy real estate market. What would you say?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a very healthy market right now. Stuff is in the market, stuff is selling, inventory is not really fluctuating much. It's been stuck at 2.5 months supply for a while now, like 6 months, I believe. So it's pretty healthy. It's a good market. Now, of course, if you're a buyer, you'd like to see more options, right?
Yes.
You'd like to see interest rates a little bit lower. But as far as transactional, as far as, keeping the playing field even, this is a pretty normal, healthy market right now.
Yeah. Got it. Well, good. Well, so yes, we're on a little bit of a rebound, and I just wanted to again clarify the rebound is a couple months ago we started to see the numbers trending like maybe there's a little lower medium price point or average price, medium price that was starting to come down a little bit. Then days on the market at the same time was increasing a little bit, and then the active listing to pending ratio was decreasing a little bit, and we saw those three things going down. And so we started making people aware of that. Right now, we're seeing those things actually reverse slightly, which means that downward trend that we were seeing seems to have reversed. And that's where we call it kind of a rebound, kind of a reversal of what we saw as a little trend. All right, Abe, well, I appreciate you bringing that information. For those of you out there, if we can do anything to help you, please let us know. Again, I'm Greg Harrelson, Abe Safa, both with Century 21, the Harrelson Group. There's our contact information. We'd love to continue to be a real estate resource for you. Thank you, Abe.
Thank you all for watching. Thanks, Greg.
Bye.